everyone. Paul Feldman, Insurance Newsnet. I'm here with Chris Blunt from F&G. He's the president and CEO. And you guys have been having an amazing year. So tell us a little bit about this year, what makes it so good.
Look, obviously, it's a fun environment for pretty much everybody in our space, but we've had a particularly good year. And I would just say it's the culmination of several years of laying the foundation around building out our distribution, adding products here and there, employees that are pretty fired up, some technology investments we've made. And, we're in our 6th year of our investment partnership with Blackstone. And all of that seems to be coming together at a period in time, which it's a great environment for fixed annuities. Volatility is our friend, and you're seeing advisors in particular embrace it in a way that I think they just haven't in the past.
So fixed index annuities are a big part of your sales, but life has been growing too for you.
I love our life business. So, it's just been growing exponentially. I think when I first joined, we were doing less than 30 million of recurring premium, and now we're doing about 160 and on our way to, I'm sure, 200 plus million of recurring premium. Part of that is we play in the middle markets, in the cultural market, part of the US where there's young families and a lot of rapid growth. Our only product is IUL, but we think, quite good at it and have delivered good results there. So yeah, that's a great business for us and one that we see continued growth.
Yeah, I mean, for one product, that's a lot of business.
And again, I just come back to it's a classic middle market solution, right? We call it the ultimate Swiss Army knife. It's got some death benefit protection, some savings component. And as you know now, living benefits are increasingly important, particularly in the middle market where there's only so much dollars that can go toward premiums and protection, period. You want to get as much bang for your buck as possible.
So, you talked a little bit about technology. How's technology been a part of your growth at your company? And where do you see that going?
It's been a big part of it. So our strategy from the beginning, we tagged it with the acronym GEM, which stood for Grow, Engage, and Modernize. The grow part is obvious. So we've grown distribution channels, as I talked about before. We've grown our product suite. We're getting ready to launch into the RILA space. We've grown our investment options through the partnership with Blackstone. The E is about engaging employees, and I'll come back to that later. But the M has really been around modernizing how we work. And for us, that's been some pretty significant investments in technology. And when we were acquired by Fidelity National Financial in June of 2020, they were incredibly supportive. Their whole model has been scaling up the title insurance industry and utilizing technology effectively. And so really took a page from that playbook, and we made some significant investments in technology around workflow, our different operating platforms, and we think it's had a real impact.
So you had mentioned earlier of your GEM formula, engagement, and you guys do a lot of remote work, don't you, now?
We do.
Are you mostly remote?
We really are. So we've got a beautiful office in Des Moines, Iowa. We've got a permanent office in New York now. And when you go in there, there's quite a number of people there on any given day, but we don't force folks into the office X days a week. And that was a strategic decision early on as we were emerging from COVID of how did we want to compete in the marketplace. One, we view ourselves as a national carrier, not a regional carrier, and really had to decide, are we looking for the best people that want to come into the office X days a week in a particular city or two, or do we want the best people that you can possibly get in the business? And look, it's just philosophical for me. I think, big believer of you get the best athletes, you create an environment where people like playing team sports, you've got a apolitical culture and people enjoy coming to work, you're going to win. There's very few enforceable patents in our business, right? We all sell basically slightly different versions of the same stuff through the same folks. And so, yeah, we just decided early on that culture is going to be where we're going to make our stand, and we're going to make our stand in getting the best people. And, if they happen to be a 7-hour drive from our office, we still want to go after those folks.
So is that how you keep them engaged, or what other tools do you use to keep people engaged?
It's a great question. The other is we invested heavily in something we call our leadership forum, where we're taking our most senior people leaders and literally we'll do a half day event and all we talk about is leadership. We don't talk about budgets or how the business is doing. We're really talking about how do you lead in this new world order. So we'll have outside speakers, we'll have little exercises that we do because the reality is we're all figuring this out, right? None of us grew up native digital, right? We were raised when you walked around, the coffee cooler, and that's how you shared information and you observed people in person. So it is a new world order. Some managers are able to make the leap, others, perhaps not. But yeah, I think that's a big part of it, right? How do you lead teams? What's the right balance between suggesting, hey, the whole team should get together face to face, versus being more hands off and letting things play out the way they would on their own.
Hmm. Yeah, this is so true. So you were recently ranked #1 for highest customer satisfaction by JD Powers. What was the keys to scoring #1?
I come back to the engagement piece, and I really believe this. So one, we just added some great leaders into the organization that had a tremendous passion around customer experience, right? So that would be Catherine James leading our operations area, folks in technology, but it would be the wholesalers that interface with our advisors and agents, right? So it's really across the board, our product people. It's really a team effort to win something like that. I was particularly proud of the team because we've had outsized volumes. I mean, everybody's volumes are up, but we have more than tripled our sales in the last 5 years. We've doubled them in the last three. So the growth here has been furious. If anything, you would have expected that we would have dropped
Yeah.
a little bit. But I think it comes back to if you create a good environment and employees are happy, they're going to exude that with their clients. And the reverse is true. If you come into work and you're miserable and you don't want to be there, doesn't matter how hard you might try to give good
Yes.
service to your clients, it's gonna seep through.
So you did this unretired survey. What were some of the findings that you guys had? I thought that was an interesting term.
Yeah, I guess when it comes to advisors and their role in this unretirement dilemma, I do think there's a lot of folks, particularly my generation, looking for some guidance on what to do next. And I always say to advisors, don't limit your role. I think your perspective on how perhaps other clients have navigated retirement, just sharing stories about what other folks are doing in retirement can be really impactful and a great way to build even deeper relationships with clients. And a little history where it came from, and you probably know this, but I myself unretired, right? So I retired from New York Life in May of 2017. And yeah, as a relatively young retiree, I was 55 years old and really, kind of excited of just controlling my own day and figuring out what do I do next. And it can be a pretty daunting challenge of, it's a great luxury to be in that position of, hey, I can do almost anything. And one of the things that hit me is I personally had confused financial independence with retirement. I've always loved working, I've always enjoyed leading
Mhm.
teams and being part of a team. And I think a lot of folks go through that. They're, oh, wow, I don't have to work. And then they have a little bit of this realization of, but I actually like working.
Yeah.
Maybe I just want to work in a different way.
What can we do as an industry to better promote the awesomeness of annuities? Because we get a black eye a lot in the media, but I mean, the amount of assets we've protected over the years is incredible.
I think that's it. I just keep coming back to, sell the sizzle, not the steak. Sometimes we're our own worst enemies and we get involved in, trying to explain the minutia of every single rider in the contract and just go back to what is the purpose? Why does our industry even exist? Right? It exists for risk pooling. Nobody else can do that, right? So going back to using words like guaranteed lifetime income, using words like take risk off the table. That's what our industry is about. And I think maybe because of the explosion of variable annuities over the years, there was sort of we want to be like the other guys and talk about our industry the way the asset managers talk about themselves. And I just think that was a big mistake. I think going back to these are protection products, we're just protecting different risks. Because when you talk to somebody, particularly my vintage, and the number of people I talk to when I talk about, hey, you can hand over a portion of your assets and turn it into a pension, recreate a pension, they all know that's important and a good thing to do. The most immediate answer is, I didn't know you could do that. And these are pretty successful, pretty, highly educated people. And, it's like they just don't even know that you can do that. So I just keep going back to keep it simple, talk about the benefits, don't talk about how the watch gets made. And, we just, this market's massive. It's trillions and trillions of dollars.
So you've grown all this over the last 3 years, doubled. I mean, how big can you go?
Wow, and this is what I keep saying to everybody. Like the biggest limiter in any business like ours is always capital, right? So if you say, hey, over time, because your company's done well, our stock has done well, you can always raise additional equity capital. So that's a fairly big if. Sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. But with that as a caveat, I still think it's quite unlimited. Yeah, it's to double again and then some, right? Because again, we misdefine our market all the time. We talk about the market being fixed deferred annuities, but when you talk about products like RILA, you're now competing with mutual funds. That's a multi-trillion-dollar industry. So I think sometimes, and I say this to some of my peers, we got to get out of our own heads. Sometimes we're way too close to this, we're too into the weeds, and we just got to step back and realize we're part of a much bigger universe, which I literally think is pretty unlimited.
Chris, this was an awesome interview. I really appreciate your time and hopefully speak to you soon.
Sounds good.
All
Thanks, Paul.
right.
Good to see you.
Thank you.